Hi. Today I'm going to talk on what it's like to be in a relationship with somebody with borderline personality disorder. I had talked about it as being a child of somebody with borderline personality disorder from my eyes, I think about 3 weeks ago now. So now, I'm going to go back to, okay, in the marriage relationship, what does that look like? I've had a lot of discussions with my husband about it, trying to figure out what does it look like in somebody else's shoes. And he best described it as you have no idea how that person's going to react. That a small thing can be an extremely large thing, and so, or sometimes you can't handle things at an appropriate level. So there's always that expectation that you may flip out as though something massive has happened. So he often felt that I was rocking the boat and he wasn't sure what I was going to do, so he felt like he couldn't express himself. Granted, I do feel like that was a bit of an excuse because even as I've gotten healthy, he still doesn't really express himself, so gotta take that with a grain of salt. But looking back at different things, I know that it had to be really difficult. All of a sudden, a fight escalates into things being thrown and screaming and some sort of self-harm or suicide attempts, and that being on a semi-regular basis. And things being so ridiculous and so extreme. I don't know that I could handle a relationship with somebody like that, and so it causes major conflicts, obviously. And and from the eyes of somebody with the borderline personality disorder, you're seeking truth. And you don't know how big of a deal something is, and it feels like chaos. It feels like a storm inside your head, and you're just trying to figure it out. And oftentimes, I would find myself feeling like people aren't taking me seriously or validating how I think, and sometimes causing bigger fights just to feel something. That I didn't feel his love, so I wanted to either feel love. I wanted to escalate it so high that I either felt his love or I felt his wrath. I just had to feel something. And that was really hard to wean myself off that high of I needed to feel something. Or that you explode when your feelings are really hurt, that you just completely explode and you lose it. And learning how to know that, okay, he said something hurtful. Yes, I do believe that he does not love me, or I do believe he did this thing knowing that it would hurt the marriage, and say, but that's okay. Now, I've mentioned before that for me, then I plan. That then it's like, okay, fine. Something that feels very big and very difficult, that he made a large purchase without me, well, then I'm going to plan. That has kind of replaced that exploding for me. Then I think about, okay, well, what do I want my life to look like? How do I want to change things? Talking to him doesn't always change him, and does not change the way that he will do things in the future, as well as then there's the difficulty of not knowing if you can trust them. But then sometimes for the meantime, what can I plan? What can I do that is safe? What can I do that is going to calm me? So for me, planning what I want things to look like and what I can control. And what would be healthy, what could give me a healthier life. is a big thing, a big comfort for me when I'm faced with those conflicts. Instead of reverting to screaming, packing bags, spending the evening in the car. So it's it's very extreme, and it's very difficult because it's two very different levels of how the spouse and then how the borderline see the arguments. You know, they see an exploding toddler and really rash decisions being made, and the borderline is trying to feel, trying to be validated, trying to be heard, and not feeling like anybody else sees what is going on. And that takes many, many months to work through those different things. And then I also wanted to touch on a child, from my eyes, looking at my children, what that has to have been like for them. Now, granted, they were both extremely young before I sought help. I think my oldest was just had turned 2 by the time I had realized that I had an issue. And it's amazing because kids and having that extreme love and wanting to be your best for them can sometimes be a huge motivator and an eye-opener to, wait, this is harder than it should be, and this is not the kind of mom I want to be for them. Which all helps and did help me find out that I was a borderline, and was a big motivator to seek help. And I'm not sure if I didn't have children that I wanted to be better for, that I would have ever sought therapy. I may have just divorced my husband or killed myself, to be honest. So, what I think from their eyes, what they see, is they do see a mom who quickly changes moods. And it's interesting because I've read that borderline personality disorder is closely related to schizophrenia, but I think it really would be more closely related to bipolar disorder, because you do experience the mania and that high of super motivation, and then you deal with those slums of no energy, depression. So, of course, a child sees that mom is avoiding me, and mom can't deal with playing with me. She can't talk with me and enjoy me. And then the other days where mom's great, mom's playing with me, mom's cooking things with me, mom is so hands-on. And it is really hard to go through those days of the low energy and the depression, because you want to pull yourself together. I'm sorry. You want to be the best mom. You want to enjoy your kids. And there are some days that, for the life of you, you cannot snap out of it. And again, even trying to achieve that commercial mom, doing that one activity, which is kind of my rule of thumb and what I try to do, it doesn't always work. And those days feel awful. And so there has to be a lot of confusion for the kids with that. And then, thank goodness, the kids were only babies when my husband and I would have big fights. But But how scary would that have to be to where, okay, mom and dad are arguing, and then mom leaves for 5 hours or 2 hours, whatever it be. And that is something I can't stand. I can't stand the thought of that. And even though I tried to make sure that they were safe and they didn't witness any arguing or anything bad, or that they would never be in any way in danger, children are more perceptive than what we realize, or sometimes that we even want to give them credit for. So I can almost not even live with the guilt of what children may see in a borderline parent, or just a parent who is mentally unstable. And that should be a huge driving force for me and for anyone to keep finding those different coping mechanisms, find out how to work through difficult situations. For me, it definitely is. And I'm hoping that with time, I will be able to work through those low energy depression days to where it isn't that extreme of the mania and being on top of the world and taking it all on, and then that depression. So I hope that somehow this is helpful. Thank you for listening. See you next week.